Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros. This is the Fantasy Football Podcast. It is me, Joey P. Joe P. Zapia, and of course, my co-host for today is the lead singer of the Deck Boys with a Z. It's the one, the only Kyle Yates. You may also know him not just from his boy band work, but also from his work as the host of the Dynasty Football Podcast right here at Fantasy Pros. Yates, how are you, my friend? And how is that album promotion going? Because I know, man, everybody's been super excited about when that's going to drop.
Man, I'm just a busy individual, apparently. I'm building a deck, I'm doing my normal job as a fantasy football analyst, and then putting out an album on top of it. Man, where do I get the time in the day?
Dropping rankings and sick beats. That's what Yates does. He doesn't know how to do anything else. And guess what? We also have another great person here joining us today, another fantastic analyst who was just hanging out with Yates on the Dynasty Pod. So if you missed that, you can go check out that conversation. But that was all nice talk. I want some debate. I want some heat. So I have brought Dynasty Nerds' own Garret Price back now, because now it's not time to play nice. Now it's time to go at each other because it's good ratings. So Garret Price, welcome to the show, my friend. How are you today?
I'm doing good. I'm just a little hurt that I wasn't invited to the boy band. I think I have some golden pipes, but apparently I didn't make the cut. So,
you know what? You were too dangerous. They always need the dangerous one. I think you were just just a hair too dangerous, but that's okay. That's okay. I mean, there'll be other opportunities. Don't lose hope. There's always The Voice and other things like that. You could pop on and do that anytime. And today what we're going to do is we're going to pick out some overall ECR rankings in terms of some assets that Garret and Yates kind of disagree on, because I like disagreement. It's fun. I'm Italian. This is what we do. We constantly yell at each other and disagree. And I'm going to try to be the judge and jury, if you will, between these debates. We're also going to play a little Would You Rather and a new game later on in the show called On This Day. So make sure you stick around for the end of the pod for that. And since you're here already, make sure you subscribe to Fantasy Pros. Our YouTube channel is there for you all the time with the best content you could possibly imagine. All the pods, all the fun, all the fantasy feud. Once again, go to youtube.com/fantasypros, subscribe, and click that notifications button. We appreciate you being part of our community here at Fantasy Pros. And you can also be part of the community with Discord. So go to fantasypros.com/chat. It's free to join, but of course, if you want to really get into some of those AMAs and really talk with more of us and be in some of the cooler stuff we do on Discord, that's part of our subscription, so you could subscribe and upgrade if you would like. Again, that's fantasypros.com/chat. Now, all the housekeeping out of the way, one more thing. Don't forget about that giveaway. Stefon Diggs jersey we're giving away thanks to Pristine Auction. So go to go to fantasypros.com, and all you got to do is go to the contest page. Again, that's fantasypros.com/contest, and just leave a review of the show, screenshot it, upload it, and just like that, you could win a Stefon Diggs jersey. It looks so good right behind you in the office, in the man cave, in the lady cave. Please go out there, get it done. So, boys, I hope you have brought the heat, because we got some players that you've got some heat with.
Yeah.
And let's start with running backs, and let's start with DeAndre Swift, because there's a bit of a difference here in the rankings. Price has him at 14 overall in his rankings for Dynasty. Yates at 23. Garret Price, I'm going to give you the stage. Go ahead, tell me why he's at 14. Why are you higher than Yates is on DeAndre Swift?
Yeah, so a lot of my rankings go down to, especially for these younger players, it goes back to how I originally felt about them as prospects, how much talent I believe that they have overall, because I truly do believe that talent rises to the top, cream rises to the top. I truly do believe that. So especially with these younger players, a lot of that still goes into it. We saw quite a bit from DeAndre Swift last year. Obviously, we all saw the week 1 dropped pass to win the game for the Lions, and we thought, here we go again. Another talented running back for the Lions just wasted into nothing. But then as the season went on, he continued to look good and impress. And I think what has happened is we've gotten a little bit concerned about the comments from the coaching staff and the worries about Jamal Williams coming in, or heaven forbid Todd Gurley coming in and taking some touches, and what would happen if all of that transpires. And I think at the end of the day, we have a really young back that is incredibly talented, put up good numbers last year, and is primed for a stupid amount of touches this year. There's not a lot of talent overall in this offense. When you look at the wide receiving core, I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown as a rookie might be their most talented wide out. They have Tyrell the Gazelle and Rashad Perriman. Like there's nothing that's inspiring you on that front. We also have T.J. Hawkinson, who is a good talent in his own right. But Jared Goff's the new quarterback there. He has had no problem in the past checking it down to running back. So I think there's going to be a lot of PPR upside. I think there's going to be a lot of rushing attempts there. And overall, a young running back. I want to get those young, talented running backs as close to my top 10 as far as running back overall value as I can.
Now, this is interesting because it's only 10 or so different in terms of ranking. But Yates, that's significant because we're talking about a player you might take at a turn and a player you might not want to take until the third round, potentially, closer to that where you have him. So does the presence of Jamal Williams, does the presence of the concussion issues kind of keep you or hold you back when it comes to ranking Swift?
Well, Swift is a perfect case study of the whole conversation of talent versus situation. And from a talent perspective, I had Swift as RB2 in the 2020 class, right behind Jonathan Taylor. I thought they were neck and neck. I love Swift as a talent. But then you also look at the situation that he's in here in Detroit. Guys, this Detroit Lions offense this season, not going to be good. I'm sorry. Like, it's just not going to be good. So while I do think that, what Price said there, he's going to get a ton of touches. Absolutely. There's no denying that. But then what are the scoring opportunities going to be like? What does this offense look like heading into next season? Is Detroit going to draft a quarterback next year that could, but even that's the case, it's a rookie quarterback. So we could be looking at a 1 to 2 year window here for DeAndre Swift where it's not exactly the best situation for him. So I have a difficult time ranking him above guys that I've got above him, like J.K. Dobbins, Najee Harris, who is a supremely talented running back, landed in a workhorse role in Pittsburgh, Ezekiel Elliott, Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb. Like, I'm just going up my list here. I can't rank him above any of those other guys because they have the talent as well, and then they have better situations. So with DeAndre Swift, I still like him. I've still got him within that top 24. I think you can still spend a second-round pick on him, but I just don't know. I don't like him as much as Garrett because everything that I've listed, the situation with Jamal Williams, the coaching staff with Anthony Lynn, we know that he likes to utilize multiple running backs in that system, and just the overall situation that he's in. So bumped him down my rankings just a little bit here heading into 2021.
Garrett, I want to apologize ahead of time because I'm going to lean towards Yates on this one.
Oh, no.
Believe me, it hurts my soul to do that, but I'm going to because I actually do think Jamal Williams is better than people realize, and I do think they're going to probably run multiple guys, and I am concerned about the competency of the coaching staff, and there are some other guys that I do like ahead of him that it's not so much a knock on Swift, the talent, so much as a knock on him compared to the talent that I have ahead of him and how much more I like them. So round 1 goes to Yates. I hate saying that, but here we go. All right, next one here, Javonte Williams. So let's start here with Williams. Yates, this time we'll flip it around. Let's let you go first here. You've got him at 52. Garret Price has him at 20. So I know Melvin Gordon's still there, but why do you not think the future is now for the Denver Bronco running back, Mr. Williams?
Oh, man. Yeah, I knew that this one coming in was going to be a difference here because I know how Price feels about Javonte Williams. And for me, Williams was RB3 in this class. So heading into this season, knowing the landing spots, I'm not going to rank him above Najee Harris and Travis Etienne. So naturally, that pushes him a little bit further down my board. Then when you look at the situation here in Denver this year, yes, Melvin Gordon is still in town. They also brought in Mike Boone. Now, I don't think Mike Boone's going to factor in at all. Denver traded up to get him, which is a huge vote of confidence. But the overall state of this offense with either Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater. Now, if we get Aaron Rodgers here, or if we get Deshaun Watson here, if the off the field issues clear up, like that will dramatically change my ranking here on Javonte Williams. But this is now a running back who I do think is a very, very talented running back. He lands in a timeshare, I think, for this season. And then next year, I think the arrow starts to point up, but it all depends on what they do at the quarterback position around him because I still don't think that this offense is going to be fantastic. So Javonte Williams, I do like him, just not nearly on the same level as Garret Price.
All right, Garret Price, 30 picks different basically here between these two. So give it to me. Give me the pitch for Mr. Williams.
So with Javonte, it comes down to, originally I had him as the top running back in this class, and I think that's a big part of this ranking. And if you want to get these young, talented running backs, the cheapest time to get them is in the rookie draft. If when you're trying to get Jonathan Taylor now, when you're trying to get Christian McCaffrey or whoever you want at the top, they're so expensive to try to get. So the cheapest time you're going to get them is now. So I always push rookie running backs up my board a little bit just because of that fact alone. I want to try to get them early and establish them there. But part of this too is I know Melvin Gordon is part of the equation, but this is Dynasty. This isn't just worrying about one season, 1 year. And even this year, I'm not overly convinced that Melvin Gordon is going to be this overall huge factor. They did, Yates mentioned it. They traded up to get Javonte Williams, and that was to jump ahead of the Miami Dolphins. Albright tweeted that the Dolphins were dead set on taking Javonte Williams there, and at the last minute, the Broncos moved up and got him. The Broncos' offensive line has improved. Guys like Bowles have been playing much better as of late. And overall, I just think Javonte Williams can do it all. I mean, he was shattering records at PFF for broken tackles. He has really good hands out of the backfield, plus vision, strength. I mean, basically anything you want. He is your prototypical 3-down back out of the backfield. And so I want to try to get my paws on him as early as I can. And, we mentioned Gordon. I just, at this point, he's getting into his age 28 season. He had the DUI stuff in the offseason. We know that there could be some suspensions from that. We're still waiting to hear because the NFL just gives suspensions. Even if they're not convicted, they'll just give out suspensions anyway. So all of that being said, even if he just does similar to what Melvin Gordon did in a part-time role with Phillip Lindsay last year, Melvin Gordon was able to put up, in his age 27 season, nearly 1,000 rushing yards and 9 touchdowns. I think that's something that we could see similar to with Javonte Williams this year, which would put him in the RB2 range. And I think after that, we're looking at an RB1 Javonte Williams.
Well, I think this time around, I'm going to go with you, Mr. Price. I'm a little bit closer. I'd rather be on the end of getting that asset on my team. And I'm probably not quite as high as 20 overall, but I think I'm closer to that 20 range than I am the 50 range for sure. I'm also worried about Melvin Gordon and his lack of ability to stay healthy through a whole season too. I think people kind of forget, he's got great productivity, but then when you need him in the playoffs those couple times, where is he? And that's a problem I have too, and the age and the factor of all of that, and I just take that all into account. I think, and I proved this when we did our Dynasty mock the other day here on Fantasy Pros, and if you missed that, you can go back and listen or watch it on YouTube. I was the guy that took Williams. I want Williams. That's where I'm at. So 1-1 is the score, and not just for drama, it's the truth. I don't know any other way to operate. All right, wide receiver debate here. Let's start with Devonta Smith because Price has him at 39. Yates has him at 58. All right, well, this is another big divide here. So, Price, let's start with you. Garrett, tell me why Devonta Smith for you is a guy that you're ready to invest in early and often.
I must have just been feeling like sassy, when I was doing all my tape watching. It
says that in your Twitter handle, I think.
It does. It says,
it's a Dynasty guy,
Nerds,
sassy,
loves Jesus, real sassy.
Yeah,
that's all what it says right there. But I played contrarian at wide receiver too. I actually ended up having Devonta Smith over Jamar Chase, and it's no knock on Chase at all. Chase is a fantastic wide receiver. I have him at 2. They're both they're neck and neck in my rankings. But when I went and watched Devonta Smith, the only thing that I think people were able to really say negatively about Smith was he's kind of light. And Yates is kind of light, but I still think he's great. So, I mean, I don't know what the issue is here. But Devonta Smith, we're talking about an elite route runner. We're talking about somebody with great speed. And Matt Harmon did some fantastic analysis on Devonta Smith. And, one of the things you would think somebody a little bit lighter might struggle with, like press coverage or whatever. He was the best against press coverage in 2020. And then you're like, okay, well, that was the Heisman season. That might have been a fluke. He was also the best in 2019 out of all these prospects as well. So 2 years in a row, the best against press coverage. His weight had no bearing on that. He can play over the middle. He can play real physical. He can go up at the catch point and make fantastic plays. There is not an obvious hole in this guy's game other than he's skinny. And at that point, I'm going to take the Heisman winner. I'm going to take the guy with the pedigree from Alabama that just seems to churn out prospects. And I'm going to trust what I saw on tape. And I think Devonta Smith is the real deal. And I'd be willing to count on him early on as my wide receiver 3. And then I think he has true legitimate wide receiver 1 upside in the future.
All right, about 20 picks different again here. Yates, why are you hating on the Slim Reaper? Come on, baby.
This is, again, going back to what Price and I do, and that is our pre-draft evaluations. So I had Devonta Smith at wide receiver 3 in this class, and these guys were kind of grouped together in the same tier. But then it also combines my pre-draft rankings with the situation that they landed in. I am not a Jalen Hurts guy. I've been very vocal about that, saying that I do not believe that this offense is going to be spectacular in 2021, and even the overall team. So it's the situation that Devonta Smith landed in. Do I think that he can soak up targets? Yes, absolutely. But I have concerns now about not just the 2021 outlook, but also 2022. What does this offense look like moving forward? Because I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that I just do not know with Devonta Smith and how it's going to translate to the NFL. Am I confident that he's going to be great? Yes. But there is still some room here where we say we don't have he's an outlier. We don't have the stats and the historical examples to fall back on and say, like, this is how Devonta Smith can win in the NFL at 165 pounds, 160 pounds. So there's just that combined with the overall state of the offense. It's just enough risk there for me to bake that into his ranking and drop him down just a little bit there.
I think, honestly, I fall somewhere towards the middle here in this ground, because I actually think with Smith, the best years of productivity might be these first few for him. I'm more concerned with him in terms of wear and tear, third, fourth year into the league, than I am necessarily in the first two. So I kind of like him in Dynasty a little bit more because I think he can help me a little bit more up front. And off those 2 good seasons, maybe he does become somebody I can deal before the breakdown does start to happen, if indeed he doesn't put on the muscle mass and things like that you would hope he does, but not everyone's frame is able to do all of that. I'm going to go with you, Price. I think I'm closer to that 39 than I am the 58. 2-1.
Well, I do want to say one more thing real quick.
Yeah, sure.
And Yates made some really good points about the situation, but I went back and did a study, just real quick study on the 2019 draft class, and it ended up being a better class than we thought, especially at wide receiver. And I looked at all the guys taken in the first 2 rounds, and we really do worry a lot about situation at times, and I do think that situation's a little bit overrated in this entire process. 9 of the 12 running backs or wide receivers that were taken are in drastically different situations than what we thought they were going to be 2 years ago. So the landscape for these teams just changes so much. Remember we talked about how bad the situation was for AJ Brown a couple years ago. We talked about, Terry McLaurin's going to be paired with Dwayne Haskins, and they were, they have that marriage. It looks completely different now. Sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse, but the situations just change so much that I tend to not bake that as much into my dynasty rankings as I do my redraft rankings. I think it's huge for redraft, but I think for dynasty, I just tend to not bake it in as much.
I think, Garrett, you make a great point. The fluidity of the NFL right now in terms of turnover is just that. It is incredibly fluid. It's something that you can count on just change all the time. And if something's not working, they're less apt to stick with it than they were maybe a few years ago. There's that sort of, well, we're not going to grow into this. We're just going to make a change, which might be good, might be bad in some other situations, but it's true regardless. All right, let's go to the next wide receiver here. Michael Pittman Jr., somebody that Yates has been very high on. We've talked about him quite a bit. Not a huge chasm here. Price has him at 71. Yates has him at 64. And once again, if you're looking at dynasty rankings, you can go obviously to fantasypros.com and check out all the rankings there. We have so many in terms of your redraft, your dynasty ranks, all of that, but we could talk about some of the ECR of these players as well, because when you look at where we're at here between these two players, it's not far away. It is relatively close. So, Yates, let's start with you with Pittman, because I think that right now he's at 94 in terms of ECR overall. Wow. So you guys, and this is why I was searching for it as we were talking here, because you guys are, I think, both higher than everybody else. Yates, you're higher than anybody else, period. So I'm not sure whose turn it is. I've lost track. Let's just go with our guest here. Garrett, take me through your thoughts here on Michael Pittman Jr.
Yeah, so I thought I had him higher, so I messed up on that. Dang it. I have to move him up again. No, I really, really like Michael Pittman Jr. I think he was underrated as a prospect last year. Another situation where, a team really wanted to take him. The Colts didn't necessarily move up to get him, but remember, they had 2 picks in the second round. they took Michael Pittman Jr. over Jonathan Taylor, who is obviously a fantastic running back. They really liked him. He plays a very different role on this team than anybody else on the team does, between T.Y. Hilton, Paris Campbell, all of that. And I'm a big believer in Carson Wentz. I think he's gotten kind of a raw deal. He was actually on a points per game basis. He was quarterback 12 last year, not counting the game that he was removed from for replaced by Jalen Hurts. He was quarterback 12. So, I don't think he's as bad as everyone else makes him out to be. Carson Wentz now reunites with Frank Reich. I think that offense is going to be humming sooner rather than later. And similar to these running backs, if you have a young player that has already shown that they can do it, it's so valuable for Dynasty, because you're not talking, like some of these players that we might get, like a Michael Thomas, where, you got 2 years, maybe 3 years left. We're talking about like 6, 7, 8 years that you could have in Michael Pittman. And if he hits, like I believe he will, then it's just a crazy value.
All right, Yates, other end of this. Oh, well, really, again, you're even higher. So,
right.
Let's keep pushing the envelope. Make that elevator pitch where it's even more important to go reach for Pittman.
Yeah, I was about to say, this isn't really going to be a debate between Garrett and I. This is going to be a debate
who loves
of
him
Garrett
more.
and I
That's
versus
yeah.
ECR. Versus ECR. Because ECR at 90 or whatever that was, that's ridiculous, man. So I think here is the thing with, it's tying back into pre-draft evaluations that I was very high on Michael Pittman Jr. I was hyping him up last year too, telling people, keep an eye on this guy as we head into the 2020 season. And then, of course, with this year, you have an aging T.Y. Hilton, you have Paris Campbell who cannot stay healthy, and then you have Zach Pascal. So, where is the ball going to go in this offense? You don't have a true established tight end outside of Jack Doyle. So, it's the ball has to go somewhere, and Michael Pittman Jr. has the talent to soak up targets in this offense. So, I really I'm staying measured in my projections for this year, and I've got him with only 6 receiving touchdowns because I can't give Carson Wentz, 28, 29, 30 touchdowns. But what happens if he does get back to performing at the level that he did with Frank Reich? Pittman is going to be the main beneficiary of that. So what happens if he gets to 9, 10 receiving touchdowns on top of the target share that I'm already projecting with? I feel like 64 or wherever I've got him is staying measured. So it's there's a very realistic chance that we see Pittman skyrocket in Dynasty this year. I want to get in on the ground level first now because people are still sleeping on this guy, and I want to make sure that we point him out and say, get Michael Pittman on your Dynasty rosters while you still can.
All right, in the battle of love, Yates loves him more, and I'm with Yates. I love him more too, but it's also because I do think Carson Wentz can get back to being that guy. I do think a great offensive line, going from the worst to the best, is night and day, and it's going to change, and you're going to see Carson Wentz, after maybe the first couple of games, still trying to figure it out, but then as time goes on, I think he's going to get really good. I think he's going to get back to being that guy everybody thought he would become and stay, and I think the Eagles are going to have some remorse there, and give me Pittman along with it. Great points from both of you. I know you both love him. Yates loves him more, so I'm going to go with Yates. So we're now tied. We're going to break that tie in a second with the quarterback, but before we do that, obviously, everybody loves to win. There's no doubt about that. And of course, look at me. I've got behind me the Superflex Championship. Being a champion is a wonderful thing, right? But if you want to win off the field or off the fantasy football field, that is, you got to use Deal Dash. It's the online shopping platform that's actually fun. Deal Dash is the longest running penny auction website and app that's around. It's too good to be true, you think? Guess what? No, it is. It's true. All right. You've seen cars sell for $900, brand new TVs for $2. So don't be a loser. Stop paying full price. And I don't mean Garret Price, just regular price for all the things that you want to get on Deal Dash. And Garrett's a deal, by the way. We got him at a steal as a guest of the show today. Go to DealDash.com or download the app. By the way, when you register, enter the promo code PROS. Again, that's PROS for a special offer. 100 free bids. Again, that is DealDash.com. So let's get to the quarterbacks. Hopefully Yates is ready for this next one here because it is about Trey Lance. So ECR on FantasyPros has him at 110 on Dynasty. Now, when we go look at the rankings between Yates and Garret Price, Yates has him at 91. Sure, a little bit higher than ECR because it's Yates, and he and Trey Lance are very close. But Garret Price has him at 151. There is a huge gap here. So, Yates, go ahead. Tell me why you think that everybody else, or I should say Garret Price, really isn't buying in on this Trey Lance train and needs to buy a ticket, because there's a big difference here. Even this is a single quarterback, mind you, as well.
Right, and I think that I'm not surprised that I'm higher than ECR. That was a given. That was a given, just because I knew I had him at QB1 in this
actually
past
20
class.
spots
so,
different here.
Yeah, so I knew that I was going to be higher than ECR. I think with Garrett at 150 or wherever he's got him, I don't know how you can get to that drastic of a difference. So I'm really looking forward to hearing his thoughts and his process, because I actually don't know where Price had him ranked in this last class. So again, this comes down to the pre-draft evaluations, and then knowing that I had Lance at QB1, knowing that he just landed with Kyle Shanahan and this offense that features George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, a really, really solid running game on top of what Trey Lance will bring as a mobile quarterback, getting 6 to 7 to 8 rush attempts per game, like design QB runs. I think that the sky is the limit for Trey Lance, and that we could be talking about him as the overall, maybe not QB1 because he would have to knock out Patrick Mahomes, but in that top 3 tier here within a year or two. I think that we can absolutely be talking about Trey Lance in that same vein as Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, for dynasty purposes. So even at 91, I knew that I was going to be higher than ECR. I don't know how he can get to 150. So please, Garrett, enlighten me.
Yeah, Garrett, you got to enlighten us here, because you make the case for, getting those young running backs, but those elite quarterbacks are really, once again, kind of stepping above even the QB1s. That top grouping is a separator, and they're more protected, and they tend to have longer careers and stay on the field more. So why not reach a little bit for Lance, even in the single quarterback?
Yeah, I think had this been Superflex, I'm a guy that loads up on quarterbacks in Superflex, so this would have been a very different conversation. But I am curious, where do you have him ranked just among the quarterbacks, Kyle? Because I think that might be where the difference is here.
Yeah.
Well, while you do that,
so I've got.
No, while you're looking that up, part of this is just where I have the quarterbacks in general in one QB league.
Sure.
And I think that's probably the biggest reason that he's significantly lower. I only have 10 quarterbacks inside my top 100. So there's a lot of guys that just didn't make the cut, not because I don't think they're talented quarterbacks and I wouldn't snatch them up like crazy, but I'm usually the last guy to take a quarterback in a one quarterback league. And then I'm going to take several upside guys like Trey Lance, like Justin Fields, like Zach Wilson, like, these young guys. I'll take several of them then in the 12th round or the 13th round or whatever it is, and try to gobble up some value there and see which one sticks. So that's just kind of more of a personal philosophy on my end. I'm just not going to take the quarterbacks that high in a one quarterback league.
Yates, where do you have him? Did you find that number?
Yeah, so I have Trey Lance at QB10 in Dynasty.
So yeah, it's still a difference. I have him at QB 18 in Dynasty. Okay. So there's some of those veteran guys that I would like to have over him, and it's close, but especially at the quarterback position, I just want to make sure it's steady. I'll take an upside guy here and there, but I want to make sure that in one QB leagues that I'm getting good production out of my quarterback. Am I getting somewhere between 8 and 12? Then I'm probably happy because I'm loading up on the other positions.
All right, let's settle this. Okay, we were tied 2-2. The evolution of quarterback and how important it's become, the separation of those elite quarterbacks. I think Lance has that potential. So it's very frustrating for me because I love your sassiness, Garrett, and you are the guest, and I hate this, but I'm gonna be on Team Yates, which is very difficult. Now he's gonna have to take me on tour with his band to all the different cities. It's gonna be like 40 different cities. It's gonna be way too much. It's gonna be hot. All those music festivals. I hate it. It's gonna be terrible. But look, we can redeem yourself here in the lightning round. So let's have a little fun here. This is a quick would you rather. So no more than a sentence on these guys if they have the big opinions here. Let's start. Dynasty League, Trevor Lawrence or Joe Burrow. Garrett, who would you rather?
We know what we have.
Okay. How about you, Yates?
Joe Burrow by a mile.
Oh. By a mile. Whoa, my goodness. I don't know. Now, all of a sudden, now I like Garrett more. All right, Trey Sermon or Zach Moss, Yates. Who'd you rather?
Trey Sermon. I don't want any shares of Zach Moss in Dynasty.
Oh, they're closer in ECR than you might think. How about you there, Garret Price?
Ditto. Give me the upside.
All right, upside it is. Let's go to some wide receivers here. Jerry Jeudy or Chase Claypool. Garret Price, you're first. Who'd you rather?
That's a tough one.
This is why I get the
That's
big
a good
bucks.
one.
I do this.
Let's
That's
go.
what I do.
Let's go with Jerry Jeudy. We don't know the quarterback situation.
I was going to say, you don't know the quarterback, but you don't know how much longer Big Ben sticks around. It's tough,
that's
man.
true. I'll still take Jeudy. I had him higher as a prospect, and we'll stick with Jeudy.
I agree. Yates, is that 3 for 3 on that one?
Yeah, I just went back and did some film study from 2020 to see like what happened with Jerry Jeudy, and he's getting open consistently. There's some bad quarterback play in there. Yes, the drops were there, but the quarterback play did not help him. So I will go with Jerry Jeudy.
All right, this is fun. The last two are tight ends here. Irv Smith or Noah Fant? Yates.
I think we're in for a big year from Irv Smith, but I will still go with the talent level of Noah Fant, even though he's in a crowded offense.
All right,
I'm actually going to go
Irv Smith
I'm
or
gonna
Noah
go Irv
Fant?
Smith. I'm not a Noah Fant guy. I think there's a lot of mouths to feed there, and so far I think he's been a little overrated.
I love both these guys too. This is another one that's really tough for me, but I think Irv Smith for the now, and I want to win now. Flags fly forever. Go win. That's what I always say. Figure out the rest later. All right, last one. Another tight end. Darren Waller or Pitts on the board. Who would you rather? Garret Price.
I'm going to go with Waller. I know Pitts is the sexy name right now, but that target share is just too much to ignore, and there's not a ton of wear and tear on Waller's body.
All right, Yates, your thoughts?
I mean, if you want to swing for the fences, you go with Kyle Pitts, but you might you might strike out there. So I will go with Darren Waller because we know what we have. We know the talent level. We know that John Gruden loves him. I'll go Darren Waller.
Man, this is a tough one for me. I'm probably going to go with you guys, but this is close. And this is a good conversation for everybody who's going nuts about Pitts. If you don't get Pitts in a draft for a dynasty, Darren Waller is a pretty good one to settle on, okay? Sure. It's okay. Don't worry about it. All right, now, if you want to make more putts, and believe me, all those golfers out there do, the Perfect Practice mat is trusted by more than 100 tour pros, including Masters champion Dustin Johnson. That's right. The Perfect Practice putting mat is the perfect gift for all of the dads in your life, so go to perfectpractice.golf. Use that code FantasyPros to get 15% off your order. Again, that is perfectpractice.golf. Use the code FantasyPros. 15% off your order. Makes a great gift for your dad for Father's Day, or you can ask for it for yourself and be a little selfish. All right, let's play a little game and have some fun. This is a good time here. Some great debates and all this stuff, but we've played a lot of different games here on the show. So, Garret, you're new to the program. I want to play a game with you, and this is called On This Day. So we are recording this on June 10th, so went down and dug up a little history on this day. Today, actually, in 1922, was Judy Garland's birthday, who I'm sure you all know as Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. And I just want you to be honest here on the podcast with all of our friends listening. True or false, as a kid, you were afraid of the flying monkeys. Yates, were you? Garret Price, were you? True or false?
True, but I don't think that it was like a paralyzing fear. But I mean, how could you not be? I mean, they're pretty freaking scary.
They had the weird face. It's not so much that they were flying monkeys. It was the face of the monkey.
It's also been years since I have seen that movie, so I'm having like a hard time remembering.
But you've got little kids, so what's going to happen now is you're going to get into that side. Right. Every little kid has their Wizard of Oz fix. Now, Garret, I don't know how many kids you've got, so there you go. So tell me, flying monkeys? Afraid? Not afraid?
I was a super weird kid. I would literally shut the lights off in my house at night and force myself to walk down the hallway because I didn't like being scared of things. So I was actually not afraid of the flying monkeys. But the mummy scared the crap out of me, even though it wasn't a scary movie. I don't know why.
All right, fair enough. In 2004, a marriage hit the skids, unfortunately. Saved by the Bell's Mario Lopez divorced model actress Ali Landry. I know that Yates is still trying to get over this one. That was in 2004 on this day, which brings me to a Saved by the Bell question. Did you have a crush on any of the girls in Saved by the Bell? Now, I know this is more my youth, but I know in syndication it still runs. I got an 8-year-old and an 11-year-old, and they watch it. They think it's hilarious to look back at the 90s clothes. I had a crush on Kelly Kapowski. I'm not going to lie. Come on, who didn't? Yates, any crushes from Saved by the Bell? Just want to throw this out there. Are you familiar with the program?
This ended in 1993, and I was born in 94. So
yeah, but it still runs all over the place. No?
I have never watched an episode of Saved by the Bell. I saw that you included this question, so I went and looked up even who the actresses were. And with Kelly Kapowski, I was like, oh, that's Elizabeth Burke from White Collar. wouldn't have been able to identify her as anything else other than from White Collar. So yeah, I'm not going to be much help.
Other men my age might recognize her from another film, but I know you guys are squeaky clean, so I don't know if we're going to get into that. How about you, Garret Price? Any crushes? I don't know if you're older than Yates or not, or even familiar.
I was in 90, so I was alive when it ended. At least, and she was beautiful for sure. But I was a Topanga guy. Topanga was my
okay. So you're more Boy Meets World. I always find like that's that next trigger is the Topanga. All right, so this is good. You find out the boyhood crushes. Yates, did you have a boyhood crush on TV or no?
Oh my word. Yeah, but it was like later on. I'm gonna age myself. It was like Victoria Justice. Like that definitely.
Now my kids also watch
there.
that show. See, this is the thing with the internet now. There is no pop culture. They all just kind of consume everything. You're going to realize this. So there's no like now. Everything is just something they find and then they just get into that. So that's very funny. All right, last one here. 1977 on this day, Apple Computer ships the first Apple II computer out there. What was your first high-tech device as a kid? I will go first. My dad got me a Commodore 64 with the cartridges. Oh my goodness, hooked that bad boy up to the TV. I was playing, I guess, the educational games because that's all they had at the time. But I thought this was the greatest thing ever. Things would never advance past this. So I had the Commodore 64. Garret Price, what was that first big piece of technology as a kid that you got that you went, oh my God, I am important. Look at me. I'm in control of the universe.
Yeah, we were always like really behind. So like as my friends had like PlayStations,
you got that Zune.
Yeah, as my friends got like the PlayStation ones, I was like, oh, I just got a Super Nintendo. Yes. Like so we were always like really behind the 8-ball. But my dad like gave me a computer that was like his old computer, and I got to like have it in my room at around like 8 or 9, and I just remember like playing like all the stupid games that like come preloaded, like Minesweeper and Solitaire. Like I mastered Hearts. It was great.
Oh, Master of Hearts. There you go. That's another thing you should add to your Twitter tag. How about you, Yates? Anything technology-wise? Was that first big thing that was just yours that you had?
I mean, we had a family computer. It was never that it was completely mine, but I spent a ton of time on it. So what I would do as a kid was not only the games that Garret mentioned, but then I was big into hockey at that time. So then I would go on, I remember doing this, I would go on NHL.com, and they had like weekly photo galleries. And so I would copy and download all of these photos, put them in a Microsoft PowerPoint, and then would create like my own trading card books. I would do like the clip art with like the player's text. And so I could tell you every single player in the NFL at that time, or in the NHL at that time. And so because I would do this, like I had massive files on this computer of just like photos of all these NHL players from, this would have been probably early 2000s.
That's awesome. Well done. Early 2000s, NHL 2000 on PlayStation 2. Ooh, my goodness, my favorite college game ever.
I had every NHL game at one point, from like the PlayStation all the way from like to computer, all the way to PS2 and stuff like that, from 99 through 2015 at one point.
Make your own guys. It's all about making your own team and your own players up. That's what I love to do. And if you're looking to get caught up on players, make sure you go follow Garret Price for real players, not the made up ones, at Dynasty Price. Check out all of his work at Dynasty Nerds. Garret, what else you got going on these days, my friend?
We've got a bunch of big things going on with the GM tool that we have at Dynasty Nerds, adding a mock draft function and all the different things with the nerd score and all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, all of my stuff is at Dynasty Nerds. I stay in one spot. I know a lot of guys are, they got all over the place. I'm boring. I'm in one spot. I stay in my lane, but you know where to find me.
All right, there you have it. You know where to find Yates, of course, here, and also hosting the Dynasty Football Podcast as well. Want to remind everybody, make sure you go and subscribe to the YouTube channel over at FantasyPros. Again, takes 2 seconds. Click subscribe, click that notifications button, be part of the party here, and you can join our chat over at Discord, fantasypros.com/chat. I want to thank the sponsors of today's show as well, the Perfect Practice Golf. Again, Fantasy Pros is that code for perfectpractice.golf, and you get 15% off your offer. And don't forget about dealdash.com as well. Use the promo code PROS there and get 100 free bids on us. And don't forget about that jersey, thanks to our friends at Pristine Auction. Stefan Diggs, fantasypros.com/contest. That'll do it for us, but the story of the game goes on. For Garret Price and Kyle Yates, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.
Thanks for tuning in to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel. Don't forget to check out our featured videos. And while you're at it, make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at FantasyPros, so you can get the latest news and updates to give you the edge you need in your fantasy league.